We are live. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Boxing Fanatico Show, episode 61. Let's do this thing. Let's go ahead and switch over. Hold on one second. What is up, everybody? Thank you for joining us. Episode 61, Boxing Fanatico Live. And of course, we always got to start the show with my main man, Hashim47. The legend Hashim 47, and the other legend, Michael Buffer. Let's start the show with a let's get ready to rumble right quick.
Ladies and gentlemen.
What is going on, everybody? Let's go into the chat real quick, but today we got to talk about something special, and that's Gervonta Tank Davis, because his next fight is going to be massive. His next fight is going to be massive. Let's take a look at what you guys are saying. Salute Fanatico, Tank versus Keith. It ain't Tank versus Keith. That we know for sure. It is not Tank versus Keith. Fire, what's going on, brother? What's up? UA7 Tone. UA7 or UA7T1. One of those I could... It's hard to, you know what I'm saying? Some of it is capitalized. The rest of it is lowercase. I'm just kidding, brother. What's going on? Tank better not fight Keith. I'm in that same boat. I don't want him to fight Keith as well. Biz from Cali. What's good, brother? What's good? Darian Johnson. I joined this just to see if you get to talk. If you get to talking reckless about Tank. Okay. All right. Anthony Murchison. What's going on, brother? And ASAP TV. We here. All right. Okay. So, Tank Davis. What is his next fight going to be? We got a lot of information on Tank Davis' next fight. One thing that was moving through the grapevine was that Tank Davis was going to fight Keith Thurman. That was a huge rumor. But I appreciate when content creators tell you, hey, look, there's a rumor. Because what ended up happening is it was a rumor that was not validated by any reliable source. And on top of that, it was actually shot down by a reliable source. But let's take a look here real quick so we can look at the information. Michael Benson, he tweeted, Michael Benson is one of a boxing reporter. Gervonta Davis's trainer, Calvin Ford, has teased that a big fight is now in the works for Tank's return. Now, we're going to use a little bit of logic to figure out who this person might be. Right now, something big is coming, and I can tell you that it's quiet for a reason. They're trying to seal the deal. Is going to make the world turn. Now, forget Isaac Cruz. There's no way that Calvin Ford is talking in this vein for an Isaac Cruz. It's not Isaac Cruz. Also, forget Keith one-time Thurman, because Steven Espinoza, he's the person at the head of Showtime boxing, right? He's the one that runs all of these events. He does this in collaboration with the PBC, in collaboration with Floyd Mayweather Promotions, with Tank Davis. They all work together. Steven Espinoza is at the head of this information. He said, y'all need to stop, and he posted this today, y'all need to stop with this Tank versus Thurman stuff. It's not happening. Keep in mind, Keith Thurman, I believe he's at 147 still, unless he moved up. But I believe he's at 147. But he's saying that it's not going to happen. So if it happens, Tank would have to move up to 147 to do that fight. But he's saying that it's not going to happen. Stop believing everything you read on social media. Not all sources are the same, which is what I'll tell you guys. When we hear it from Steven Espinoza, he's on the inside, right? When we hear about Michael Benson, he's on the inside. If we're hearing about coming from Calvin Ford, he's on the inside. So whenever we put information here on this show, we don't take it from one person who went viral because he just said a thing. Boxing is filled with all those kind of rumors that just come from like a person who tweets something that doesn't have any reliable source, but people find it intriguing, and just because it might be so off the wall that people think, oh, this might be real. And then that gets spread around in the boxing community forums and all these different things. And then content creators, unfortunately, use that piece of information to create content. I know it's enticing. You're going to get views. Trust me. Everybody want views. If you're a content creator, you want views. But here we have just that little bit of integrity where we make sure that the information we get is coming from the reliable sources. Now, let's hear what he said, because what Michael Benson posted on Calvin Ford was from the Rise podcast. So I'm going to click on here real quick and see there's a little snippet where he's teasing like what's going to happen next, right? So let's get the audio.
You know how they always say, be careful Ford. What you ask for, because you might get it.
Get it?
Might get it.
So y'all, they trying to seal. Listen to what I said. They trying to seal the deal.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
So that's going to be the talk.
It's got a good momentum going right now.
Right. I think I got it. So y'all heard that. They're trying to seal the deal. So everything we're hearing is leading us to believe that it's some sort of a super fight. It's somewhat of a super fight. Now, who are the available options? This is for Tank's return. So if it's for Tank's return, one, we've been getting breadcrumbs for a long time, and we've been talking about all the breadcrumbs here on Boxing Fanatico Live. We talked about the fact that even Leonard Ellerbe, who's one of the advisors and managers of Tank, that he's talking about, we're going to fight the guys that everyone's saying that they want us to fight. It looks like it's no longer going to be Tank just fighting adjacent to the world champions. It looks like he's going to start fighting the world champions. Okay, so who is the people that he could fight? We know that Tank can easily move to 140 and fight at 140. We know that Tank can fight at 135. He does it all the time. He moves around and weight like it's nothing, right? So who is Tank going to actually fight? Shakur Stevenson has a fight coming up not too long from now. I think it's in October. He's fighting with De Los Santos, so he's off the table. Devin Haney has a fight as well. Devin Haney is fighting Regis Prograis, so he's off the table. So we already got two people that is kind of the target for most fans that want to see Tank versus this like a super fight, right? It leaves us to a few more people. Tank could indeed be fighting, and this makes a lot of sense. Just listen, hear me out here. I know this sounds crazy, but it's possible. It could be Tank versus Lomachenko. That's a possibility. Why? You might be saying to yourself, that don't make no sense. Lomachenko wants to maybe give it another shot at becoming undisputed, right? The best way that he could do that, to get his feet wet, to get inside the door again, to start that process, is to win the WBA belt. Because Devin Haney is being moving up to 140 to fight Regis Prograis, it is highly probable that his belts are going to be stripped. If Devin Haney gets stripped of all his belts, a bunch of them become vacant, but because Tank Davis is the WBA regular champion at 135, he will be elevated to super champion. This gives an opportunity for Lomachenko to win one title and start the process over. Now, I don't know if he wants to do that, right? Because this is he's going to have to climb the mountain all over again. He climbed the mountain, came up a little bit short with Teofimo Lopez, almost got there again with Devin Haney, came up short. Devin Haney retained his undisputed title, so Lomachenko never became undisputed at 135, even though that's what he was gunning for. Okay, so Lomachenko is a possibility. We have to think super fights, guys. Don't think about no Eastside Cruz. I see a lot of people joking around, making fun of, Tank saying, they're just going to pick somebody. They're not going to pick somebody that's just a regular fighter when we talking the way they talking. Like, be careful what you ask for. This is going to be big talk. We just waiting to seal the deal. Leonard Ellerbe is saying we about to fight those guys. Like, get ready. We're fighting those guys that you guys are pointing at for Tank to fight. There's a pivot that's happening with Tank's career right now. I think, like I said, remember I predicted this. The 1.2 million it's the sustainability factor now. How do you keep making those 1 million, north of 1 million or close to 1 million pay-per-view buys after you crack the 1 million? Because what you do after that, it's like you have a risk of being a one-hit wonder in boxing. What you do after that has to be very strategic. You have to figure out the correct path to keep making money. Floyd was able to do that after his Oscar De La Hoya fight. Tank is going to need to be able to do that as well. He can't go back to doing 270,000 pay-per-views because that's a regress after a 1.2 million fight with Ryan Garcia. So Lomachenko is one of them. We know he's a possibility because he would fall in the vein of a super fight. But another person that will fall in the vein of a super fight is also, it ain't gonna be Sean O'Malley, man. If it's Sean O'Malley, I give up. If it's Sean O'Malley, I give up on boxing. If it's Sean O'Malley, bro, I give up, bro. I give up. I no longer want to watch boxing ever again. Yo, I'm not kidding, man. I'm not kidding. I'm telling you, if it's Sean O'Malley, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's a wrap for the Boxing Fanatico show. It's a wrap for Boxing Fanatico Live. It's a wrap for me as a viewer watching boxing. Teofimo Lopez. And we talked about this the other day. Teofimo Lopez is open, available at 140 for a fight with Tank Davis. This is a perfect lineup fight. It will fall in the vein of a super fight as well. But this is a perfect lined up fight because whoever wins that could go against the winner of Devin Haney versus Regis Prograis. That makes it even bigger because there's not just the fight potential, but there's the future potential after that fight. And then, of course, that's going to leave somebody like Shakur Stevenson in the dust at 135. But once he finishes doing whatever he wants to do at 135, he can move up to 140 and join that whole kind of, ball of fighters that are fighting each other. But I truly believe that this fight is a super fight in the making. And by super fight, the way that they're talking, the way that Calvin Ford is saying something big is coming, it's quiet for a reason. They're trying to seal the deal, and it's going to make the world turn. He's not fighting Isaac Cruz. He's not fighting. He could, now that I'm reading that again, he could be fighting Sean O'Malley. But like I said, I will quit boxing if that's the case. But I don't think it is, because when we did the Fight Hype interview that was done recently, maybe about a few days ago with Leonard Ellerby, he said, we're going to fight those big fights, the fights where everyone is pointing us to, where everyone's pointing for Tank to fight. So that, to me, is an indicator that they're fighting the big guys. That's the Lomas, that's the Shakurs, that's the Devin Haneys, that's the Teofimo Lopez's. I believe, using process of elimination, understanding that this is big, we've now got that information from both the trainer, one of the trainers, and Calvin Ford, right? So a trainer in his camp, Calvin Ford. Leonard Ellerby has also indicated that there's big fights ahead. Michael Benson is getting that reporting, and also Steven Espinoza. Process of elimination with Shakur, and this his next fight, on his return fight. That's what they're talking about right here. A big fight is now in the work for Tank's return. So it eliminates, in my opinion, Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney for right now. With using the process of elimination, I can't see anyone other than Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez, with me giving Teofimo Lopez a little bit more of an edge to lock in this fight because of the way recently Lomachenko has been kind of talking, right? The way he looks like he's kind of out of it. He doesn't really want to start this process all over. So because Lomachenko is acting in this way in boxing right now, where he turned down a WBC vacant title fight with Shakur Stevenson, he just might be semi-retired. Teofimo just had an amazing fight. Also, don't forget that Tank and his team already talked about calling out Teofimo Lopez back when Teofimo Lopez was kind of back trying to get in his get back or trying to get back into the fray after his loss with Kambosos. They were talking, hey, we want to do a Teofimo Lopez fight. That's what Floyd Mayweather was saying at a press conference for Tank Davis. So fast forward to now, he gets a sensational win against the dude. I forgot his. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot his name. What's this dude's name, man? Y'all can help me out with the dude that he just beat. I'm drawing a blank on Josh Taylor. He just came off of a sensational fight against Josh Taylor, beating him in an amazing way where he controlled basically every round after the third round, after the second round. And now this gives a lot of hype behind Teofimo. If Tank is to fight Teofimo, that would be huge, and that would be a super fight. I think that's the angle that they're gonna go. They're obviously, they don't want to say nothing, because when things are quiet in boxing, that's when deals are actually being made. That's when contracts are actually being signed. When you're hearing people talk about each other back and forth on social media, expect no fight to happen. When there are no talks, that's when we got the Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence signed, sealed, and delivered. When there's no talks, I think that's what's happening here. And I think I have Teofimo Lopez using process of elimination, looking at everything that everybody's saying. I have him as the running, the person in the number one position to be in that super fight with Tank Davis. We know it's not Keith Thurman, because Stephen Espinoza already shot down that rumor. And also, if it's Sean O'Malley, please no. I don't think it is, though, because Leonard Ellerby's statement is in line with him fighting somebody that the fans have been asking for him to fight. And it has to be a super fight. So fans asking for him to fight, and it got to be a super fight. I can't see nobody else other than two available fighters, being Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez. If it's anyone other than those two people, I would be shocked. Let me see what you guys are saying. Hold on. I want to see what you guys are saying. King of 47, Tank beats everyone. He's the best boxer right now. Granted, his opponents signed hydration clause. Face of boxing, Tank best ever. Granted, his opponent signed hydration clause. I think he only had Ryan do the hydration clause, though. I don't think he had anybody else do a hydration clause. I could be wrong. But I do believe only Ryan Garcia had the hydration clause. It's going to be O'Malley, man. He's following Floyd's green print. I'm serious, but this is how I feel about that fight. But that's not Floyd's. That's King of 47. That's not Floyd's blueprint, man, or green print. Floyd fought a MMA fighter when he was retired. He unretired for an MMA fighter. Tank is still in the middle of his career. Floyd, in the middle of his career, was fighting Canelo, De La Hoya, Shea Mosley, Miguel Cotto, right? Maidana. He was fighting the head honchos. The true strategy is to fight the head honchos if you're going to follow Floyd's strategy. You could only fight an MMA fighter but one time before the novelty is over, right? So I'm sure that is not the path that they're going. It's only if it's his last fight or his return fight that would make sense for him to do. But a fight just like now in the middle of his career, I don't see him fighting an MMA fighter. So I don't think it's going to be Sean O'Malley. Plus, like I said, what Leonard Ellerby was saying is in the vein of him fighting somebody that we want him to fight, but it's also a super fight. So if both of those things are attached to this, then it has to be Teofimo Lopez. It could be a wild card and be Terrence Crawford. That's a super wild card. I don't see them doing that. Terrence Crawford has other plans as well that goes even further north from 147. He'll be too out of reach, I think, for Tank Davis. I don't foresee that, but there has been little talks here with Terrence Crawford saying he'll fight him at 147 because it's a big money fight, and Tank just being able to make 147 has been speculated as well. But I think that he's not. I don't think it's a Terrence Crawford. I think it's Teofimo Lopez at 140. He's fought at 140 already. I think that's the path that he's going to go. If not that, it has to be Lomachenko, because other than those two, you ain't giving us a super fight with anybody that anybody wants you to see in there, unless Shakur and Tank fight at 135, and he waits for the fight, and then there's a comeback fight, or like there's a time that he gives for Shakur to rest, and then they fight. That's the only other thing that I could see, but I don't think that that's happening. What I think is happening is that he's gonna fight. He's gonna end up fighting Teofimo. I also see that he's gonna start working with everyone so that they can make the best fights possible. Don't forget, people are saying that Floyd and his team and Tank's team, they're only gonna fight in-house. And for a while, that's what they did. They fought in-house. But his biggest fight was with a collaborative fight with Ryan Garcia when Ryan Garcia was with the Zone. So if he was able to do a collaborative fight with Ryan Garcia, I can't see why he can't do a collaborative fight with everybody else, while everyone else knows that he's the A side. As long as you have the leverage of knowing that you're the A side and you're pitching everything as the A side, you should be open to making deals and contracts and signing things with other fighters from other promotions. So it is not far-fetched, and I believe that it is very possible that in 2024, we get Tank versus Shakur Stevenson. I do think that that's possible. If Tank moves up to 140 and starts campaigning at 140, and by campaigning, I mean he fights Teofimo, beats him for the world title, then he's going to start campaigning up there. Then there's a different story. It might take a little bit longer for a Tank and Shakur fight to happen, unless Shakur dominates and just quickly gets out of the 135 division and chases that super fight with Tank and goes up. Maybe Shakur wins 2 belts, unifies, right? Does what he did at 130, moves up to 140 instead. I could easily see that happening because Shakur is going to want those big fights, and Tank is going to be at 140, and all the big fights are at 140. Shakur has a very, very prosperous future in terms of competitors, but we don't know how prosperous his future is in terms of those competitors saying, hey, I want to fight you. But in terms of the possible fighters, Shakur has a lot of possible fighters, because once he's done with 135, he could just move up to 140, and 140 is lit right now. We got Tio, Devin Haney, and Regis Prograis at 147. Hopefully it's not just talk. Tank needs to capitalize on this momentum. But that's what's going to happen, Hashim 47. That's what's going to happen. They're businessmen over there. They're businessmen over there. They're not going to just let this 1.2 million, which is a tremendous success in the new modern boxing era. We're pirating. We haven't hit 1.2 million in a long, long time, especially with American fighters. Just exclusively American fighters, we have not hit that number in a long time. So for them to be able to hit that number again, or hit even bigger numbers, they're going to have to move very strategically moving forward. He can't just be fighting off of the knockouts anymore. That's what he was doing. Him fighting off of the knockouts, it'll give him 300,000 pay-per-view buys, maybe 400,000 pay-per-view buys. Him fighting off of the knockouts and fighting a name, that's a big deal. That's big. He could get way more views than just from the knockouts. He has to put everything together. The fight being a super fight, having a dance partner, and trying to get that knockout when he can, right? Those are gonna all those things together are gonna sell. He was able to elevate himself on his own without a dance partner through knockouts, but he only went as high as 270,000 pay-per-view buys, 275, 280,000 pay-per-view buys. Now we talking crazy numbers that he could start doing moving forward if he starts putting in dance partners as he continues to fight. This is what Floyd Mayweather did. This is the Floyd Mayweather strategy, actually having somebody that could threaten your win in front of you. And Tank is undefeated, so that comes with that, right? We want to see if it's going to be his first loss. That all comes tied together, and then Tank could really start making money in boxing and start becoming he'll become the new Floyd Mayweather, where he's a celebrity. He's a full-blown celebrity. It's not just within the boxing world. He's just a celebrity overall, right? We need him to start doing stuff like that, and the only way he could do that is by fighting these tough fights against people that could defeat him, or there's a perception that they could defeat him. That's gonna make him big in boxing and spill all the way over to the casual fans. He's already shown that he could do it. He's already shown that he's 1.2 million worthy of pay-per-view buys, even though his dance partner was Ryan Garcia. But Ryan Garcia was never on pay-per-view before this, so that was Ryan's first pay-per-view ever. If Tank could get another million in his next fight, then they could say that the common denominator for this million is Tank Davis, and that's huge. Also, there's a lot of issues right now with Showtime and Showtime pay-per-view. What's going on with Showtime pay-per-view? I also saw Michael Benson talked about the ticket sales for Canelo Alvarez versus Jermell Charlo are not doing good. Those ticket sales are not doing good, which doesn't bode well for the energy behind the fight itself, because everything is a microcosm of everything else. We can learn and we can get evidence of this thing by looking at this thing over here, right? For example, I did this perfectly. I actually predicted the amount of pay-per-views that were going to be purchased in the Tank versus Ryan fight using evidence around the fight, the buzz around the fight. Like we were looking at the All Access episodes, how many views they were getting. They were getting like 3.8 million. So, okay, this is a good number where it looks like we could hit that million mark. And I was getting, people were trying to clown me. Oh, this is boxing now. People pirate stuff. People do. You think this is going to hit 1 million? And I'm like, yo, I really do think that this fight is going to hit 1 million. And I'm not just saying it because I'm excited about the fight. I'm looking at the conversations I'm having with my friends that don't know anything about boxing. I'm looking at the numbers from the All Access. I'm looking at all of the different social media buzz and how many views things are getting when they get posted, how many likes things are getting when they get posted. And then I'm coming up with a number that is in line, in the vein of that buzz. And the buzz that we were getting from Tank versus Ryan, believe it or not, was over 1 million pay-per-view buys, even in the pirating era. So I was like, okay, this is over 1 million pay-per-view buy possibility that we could get for this fight. I think it's going to cross the 1 million mark. And lo and behold, it crossed the 1 million mark. And you guys who's been here since the beginning, y'all remember that I was saying this before the fight happened. And same thing with Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. I predicted that it was going to be somewhere with between 600,000 to 800,000 pay-per-view buys based off of the All Access episodes and how they were doing on YouTube in terms of the viewership. Same thing with the buzz that was happening with all their social media posts, how many likes they were getting, how many shares they were getting, the engagement rate. All of that allowed me to put together understanding and a kind of a prediction of how many pay-per-view buys we were gonna see for that. And lo and behold, it landed at 750,000 pay-per-view buys. So I got my finger on the pulse on this stuff. I got really good predictions when it comes to even the pay-per-view buys. Forget just predicting the fights, where we're on an 8-fight prediction streak, by the way. Forget that. Predicting the pay-per-view buys, I'm hitting that as well. Right? So based on the way we're moving with the Canelo versus Jermell Charlo fight, it's not looking like that fight is going to do 1 million pay-per-view buys. It's not. We're looking at the numbers for the All Access is doing over 1 million. Yeah, but over 1 million, Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence was doing over 1 million for All Access. So that don't mean much. We need to get that thing at 2-3 million, right? We need to have it sitting around there, and we need to see like how quickly did the tickets for the arena sell out. That's part of it. Ryan versus Tank, those tickets sold out quickly. Even Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence, those tickets sold out quickly. The buzz was there, and they didn't even hit 1 million. You mean to tell me that Canelo versus Jermell Charlo tickets is still not selling out quickly? And they're going to hit over 1 million or even 750,000? No, we might be seeing something a little bit lower than even Crawford versus Errol Spence with a Canelo fight. And that doesn't look good for both Canelo and for Showtime, because Showtime right now, they're betting a lot on Canelo. They paid him 100 million plus in a 3-fight deal. This is a way better deal that they even what they gave Floyd Mayweather when they gave Floyd Mayweather the 100 million plus deal for 7 fights. This is just, or for 6 fights. This is just 3 fights for 100 million something for Canelo, right? So this is one of those things that is tough, because also Paramount now absorbed Showtime. And Paramount don't really care too much about boxing content. And people think, oh no, there's no way that Showtime could go under. It's impossible. I always watch Showtime. I've been watching Showtime since I was a kid. Yeah, you know what else I've been watching since I was a kid? HBO boxing. HBO said, listen, we gotta cut this tail because all we're doing is losing money on HBO boxing. And HBO boxing no longer exists. HBO boxing no longer exists. It could happen to Showtime as well. It could happen to Showtime as well because Paramount, that's what they're looking at, probably not returning or reinstating Showtime boxing and letting Showtime boxing fall to the wayside because it's losing money for them, right? So what does that mean? When something is losing money for a company, they're going to have a magnifying glass on their next projects. And what's the next big project that's supposed to make money? Because they just spent $100 million in one acquisition for one fighter. It's the Canelo Alvarez versus Jermell Charlo fight. If that does not do good, then it's on its final thread. It might be on its final thread. The only other superstar that fights within the Showtime banner that could pull it out of that is Tank Davis. Because Tank Davis already did $1.2 million. But here's the thing. Tank Davis did $1.2 million, but it was shared with DAZN. So really, if you kind of break it apart, it only really did around $700,000 on Showtime itself. So they might want the $1 million all for themselves. So how do they pull this off? They go and fight somebody like a Teofimo. That is very possible with Tank being the A side. And I get it. Teofimo is kind of locked in with Top Rank or not locked in or it's wishy-washy right now. But with him being the A side, they might decide to absorb the entire event. Unlike DAZN, where DAZN, you could have bought the pay-per-view on DAZN and Showtime. Now you could only buy the pay-per-view on Showtime. And then they get a Teofimo Lopez fight, and they make money for Showtime, and they show the validity of Showtime boxing because that's important. And now I feel like the Terrence Crawford versus whoever wins between Jermell Charlo and Canelo is gonna be massive. Like it's not only is gonna be massive, but it's gonna have to happen because Showtime needs these super fights to start pulling in money, which is. It's a good thing for us, but it's also a bad thing because if anything happens and like one thing does not fit the projection or hit the projection, we might not be seeing Showtime boxing. And that is 100% not good for boxing. Not good for boxing community. I don't care how much you hate the PBC. I don't care how much you don't like the fighters in that stable. I don't care. I don't care if you love Top Rank, but you don't like PBC. Competition gives us the best product. Because the less competition there is out there, the less they have to do to appease us because we don't got anywhere to go. We're just going to go to ESPN automatically. We're just going to go to Top Rank automatically because we can't go anywhere else. So then they don't put the super fights on because they don't have to do it. We're just going to go over there. They don't have the fear of somebody else out like beating them in the numbers. They don't have that fear. So we have to make we as boxing fans need to want as many boxing channels and locations to watch boxing as possible. Like the pettiness got to be going out the window when it comes to this stuff. We have to support boxing as a whole to make sure that these things stay afloat. So with that thought process, with that being said, I highly believe that Teofimo Lopez is more than likely the next opponent for Tank Davis, and that indeed would make it a super fight. That would have a lot of buzz. A lot of people will be wanting to watch it. Casual fans know who Tank Davis is. He's probably the next Floyd Mayweather to a lot of casual fans. And when I say that, I don't mean he does what Floyd does or he doing all the stuff or they hate him or whatever. He's just the next person that everyone can collectively in one consensus say, this is the guy that we want to watch when he boxes. He's just that guy, right? That the casuals are like, oh, when's the next Floyd Mayweather fight, right? Now it's when's the next Tank fight. They're transitioning him to being that guy. It's got to be a super fight, nothing less. Yeah, it has to. They're not going to talk like this if it's not a super fight. Tank could be next Mayweather if he play it right. Tank, yeah, exactly. I was just saying that. Yo, game over. What's going on? Tank versus Teo would be amazing. Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's what we're looking for. That's what we want. O'Malley is fighting in December, UFC, from what he said in Connor's DMs after. Oh, cool. Perfect. So get out. Get out of here. O'Malley, get out of here. It's not you. I'm glad. That's what I want. Adrian Dones beats Tio at 140 to become linear champion. Then beats Devin at 140. Yeah, if he fights Tio, I would suspect that he would fight the winner of Prograis versus Devin Haney. Now, if he fights the winner of Prograis versus Devin Haney, which I suspect would be Devin Haney, then that's another super fight. We got super fights on super fights. Tank is just riding a super fight wave, right? After that fight, it's gonna start becoming a little bit rocky. Who's the next opponent that he could fight? Who's the next opponent that Tank Davis could fight? They could do something crazy and have him fight, Errol Spence, right? That's possible. I know it's crazy, but that's possible. They can make him fight a Boots. That's possible, right? He just moves up to 147, fights a Boots. Or by the time he fights Devin Haney and that's done, he could then fight a Shakur Stevenson. Like, that's a possibility as well, as Shakur moves up. And then now there's a Shakur versus Tank super mega ultra duper super duper fight that we put together. And everybody's ready to watch that, right? Everybody's ready to watch that. As long as he remains undefeated, it's gonna be a really good boxing TV for not just the diehard fans, but the casuals as well. Because remember, casuals was tuning in to Tank without knowing who he's fighting. Once they knew who he was fighting, look how much money they were able to make. Look how much pay-per-view buys they were able to generate. I think they've opened their eyes from that Ryan Garcia fight. The fact that we purchased the Ryan Garcia fight collectively, it helped boxing tremendously. You guys don't understand how much that helped boxing because now they're seeing that money can be made if we fight a big name. We can't just be riding these 270,000 pay-per-view buys. We got to start fighting people for real and getting over that 1 million mark. I think that's just going to be amazing. Josh, I'm just catching up. My bad, I'm just catching up. Let me skip down a little bit. What's good, Mr. Nobody? What's going on, bro? Everything is great. Just got in, quick rundown of what I missed. I was just talking about we looked at Michael Benson's reporting. Michael Benson showed that Calvin Ford in the Rise podcast stated that there's a huge fight. If I look at it real quick, he said Gervonta Tank Davis trainer Calvin Ford, who's his head trainer, by the way, has teased that a big fight is now in the works for Tank's return. And this is in quotes what he said. Right now, something big is coming. I can tell you that. It's quiet for a reason. They're trying to sell the deal. It's going to make the world turn. So we know it's a super fight. It has to be a super fight. Some people started saying Sean O'Malley and almost deflated my whole enjoyment and joy. But now Sean O'Malley's fighting in December. Plus, if you connect what was said here with the interview with Leonard Ellerby, with Fight Hype, Leonard Ellerby said, we are going to start fighting those guys that you guys are pointing to for Tank Davis. So that kind of removes the whole Sean O'Malley situation. A lot of people it's like people point at one or two things that Floyd Everett did, and they think that that's the strategy, that the full-blown strategy they're trying to give to Tank. Like, no, Floyd fighting Conor McGregor was innovative at the time, right? It was the first time something was done like that at that scale. And that was at him being semi-retired, coming back out of retirement just to fight Conor McGregor. This is a completely different story with Tank. Tank is still in the middle of his career. So what we're thinking of is that it's automatically a super fight. And if it's going to be a super fight, it has to be somebody that's in that echelon of what a super fight what would make it a super fight. Teofimo Lopez, to me, is the front runner of that because he doesn't have a fight. Shakur Stevenson is up there as well, but Shakur Stevenson does have a fight lined up with De Los Santos. Devin Haney has a fight lined up with Regis Prograis. So we're taking those two out of just using process of elimination. And then also Lomachenko is a possibility. But I don't know because Lomachenko is also kind of semi-retired considering he didn't want to fight Shakur Stevenson for the WBC belt. Now, if he does fight Tank, then Loma clearly just doesn't want anything to do with Shakur Stevenson. It has nothing to do with being undisputed or getting a belt. He just doesn't want to fight Shakur, if, in fact, he agrees to fight Tank Davis. But we'll have to wait and see. But my suspicion, looking at all of this evidence, and we've also played the video from the Rise podcast that was put on Twitter with Calvin Ford saying that, be careful what you ask for. We just trying to seal the deal. We're just trying to seal the deal. We also remember we had Calvin Ford's co-trainer, Tank Davis's co-trainer, also state that he wants Tank. They're ready to start fighting them big guys. So yeah, basically Teofimo is more than likely the next opponent for Tank Davis. Hopefully that was a quick little summarization. I did just for you, Mr. Nobody. I stopped the show for you. There are masters of promoting fights and selecting opponents. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they are masters of promoting fights. But the thing is, with Tank, it got to a point where it didn't even matter who he was fighting, right? It didn't even matter. Really, the best thing they was able to do is fight a Hispanic fighter and then just bring the Hispanic audience to have this Hispanic fighter want to beat you. And then just casual fans come in because they like knockouts, just like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson could have fought anybody because they just like knockouts. And that's what Tank is. He's a super one-hit knockout artist, and people love that. But the thing that's amazing about Tank is that he also has skills. So we don't know if anybody's ever going to bring it fully out of him where he has to apply those skills so he could get that knockout or apply those skills to get a decision. I know the Isaac Cruz fight was kind of a fight like that, but he edged it out, right? Even though it was close, he was able to edge that out. I'm wondering if when he's not flanked by thinking that maybe the person is not that good and he fights somebody of a higher caliber like a Teofimo, what kind of explosiveness do we see? What kind of extra tools do we see come from Tank Davis? I'm super interested. And I think that a Tank versus Teo fight would be fire. That would make more money than the Canelo versus Jermell Charlo fight. 100% in my opinion. Tank is the face. People don't want to hear this, but Tank is the face of boxing. I guarantee you, if they announce Tank versus Teofimo Lopez, there's going to be more buzz behind that. There's going to be more casual fans behind all of that. I think, unfortunately, and this is very unfortunate, I think that Canelo's slowly losing his momentum in boxing. His fight with Ryder that he just had, a lot of people didn't even know he was fighting. A lot of the casual fans that normally watch Canelo fights, friends that I have, didn't even know he was fighting. And they watch boxing. They know Shakur and they didn't even know that Canelo was fighting that day. I put it on my TV because we were having a family get together. I casted it from my phone to the TV. And my friend was like, yo, what the heck? I didn't even know he was fighting. Like, I didn't know he had a fight lined up. That's not good. And when the pay-per-view numbers came in, it was like 200 and something thousand pay-per-views. So it is very possible that there's a momentum that's like the sales are coming down on the Canelo career. So I'm hoping that that's not the case. But looking at the fact that the tickets being sold in the arena for the Canelo versus Jermell Charlo are not selling out quickly, that's bad. That's telling. All that stuff lets us know. It gives us little evidence and little hints at what we could expect for the pay-per-view buys when it comes to Canelo versus Jermell Charlo, right? Even the All Access episodes and how many views they do on YouTube, that all tells us what's the buzz behind this fight. Shakur is a nightmare matchup for Tank. Shakur is a master at distance, and Tank is short as hell. He's a master at distance. I would love to see. I would love to see Shakur versus Tank. I would love to see that fight, but I just don't see it happening. Definitely not this year, but maybe 2024. Maybe 2024 at the end-ish of 2024. That is a big possibility. My boys are casual friends. They aren't really talking about the Canelo fight this weekend either. It's not really buzzing. See? There you go. That's like a small sample size, but it's very indicative of the bigger sample size. Like your friends that don't watch boxing that much, are they talking about Canelo versus Jermell? Do they know about Canelo versus Jermell? Are they saying, where are we going to watch the fight? What's going to happen? Are they saying anything like that? No. My friends that don't watch boxing, they're not saying anything about this fight. It's almost like they don't know the fight exists. Because I don't just be telling them, this fight. I don't do that, right? Like, sometimes I don't tell them on purpose because I like when they tell me about fights because it gives me a gauge as to something naturally getting to a casual fan. Like, information and excitement just naturally fueling to a casual fan. And then I gauge from their response or their interaction with me. And then I respond to it. Because it to me is just easier to see, like, to give me an idea of what casual. I use my friends as a sample size of what the casual market is thinking, and that's the same kind of sentiment that I'm getting right now for this Canelo fight. They're not really talking about the fight, and that's not good. Agreed. There's no buzz for that fight right now in my circle of casual friends. See what I'm saying? We already got one. We got 2 different samples. Like, obviously, this is not scientific. It's not a scientifically done a sample size, but it's 2 completely different people just in here having that experience, and me as well having that same experience. I don't care about this fight. LOL. I'll just listen to the commentary. Wow. That's crazy. So maybe I should do a live commentary for that fight. I don't know. It's going to be Ryan and Tank 2 with Mayweather and Ryan's corner. LOL, just kidding. How you doing today? Anthony Merchants, what's going on? Ryan and Tank 2. Ryan and Tank 2. Nah, we're not doing Ryan and Tank 2. The first one was a knockout. It's over. That ship has sailed, brother. With Mayweather and Ryan's corner. Why would Mayweather be in Ryan's corner? That's weird. But what's going on, Anthony? People are saving their money for Bud versus Charlo/Canelo. I'll skip this fight and pay for that one. Okay. I mean, I do think that if Canelo fought Crawford, the buzz would be big because Crawford transitioned into a superstar. Crawford is now somewhat of a superstar in boxing. If he's not the most famous, because I think Tank is the most, even though people are like, no, Canelo's the face. Think about it. Look how much Canelo has made. That was then, this is now. I think the way boxing is right now, Tank is the face of boxing. He's making the most money per pay-per-view dependent on if he has a dance partner or not. You could argue that Jermell is a decent dance partner for Canelo. But maybe because he has to jump so high, there's not the threat that Canelo is going to lose this fight. So if Jermell beats Canelo, he could become an overnight sensation. That is possible. The same way when Crawford beat Errol Spence, he became an overnight sensation. So it is possible that Jermell can come out with a huge net positive off of this. I don't think Canelo comes out with a crazy net positive off of this. However, because Crawford beat Errol Spence and became a superstar, my man was on Good Morning America, Good Day New York, Good Afternoon Philadelphia. He was on every one of them morning talk shows or whatever. He was everywhere. I think that now he's popular enough that a fight with Canelo would just be massive. It would be massive. And then they could definitely cross over that 1 million pay-per-view buy. And I do think that will start to become priority over. I think that they were planning a Canelo versus Benavidez. But I think that with Crawford's win against Canelo, with Crawford's win against Errol Spence, they starting to pivot because they see more money in that fight than a Benavidez and Canelo fight, where a Benavidez and Canelo fight could hold off and not happen in May. It could just happen in September of next year. They could wait for that, right? They don't have to make that happen right away. They could probably just go for something that makes more money, which I think in their minds, they think that pivot should be Crawford versus Canelo. Guys, if you haven't, please hit the like. We got a bunch of you guys in here, but we only have a few likes. Please hit the likes, guys. I'm going to get y'all the Michael Buffer real quick for the likes. Let me go ahead and there we go. Hit the like. Thank you so much. I'm seeing the likes go up. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. It definitely helps the channel. People also watch these videos on video on demand after the fact. So just take a few seconds, hit that like button, and then we could keep on talking about this potential super fight, which I think this is amazing. This is amazing. We're getting it from all angles. We're getting it from Stephen Espinoza, Michael Benson, Calvin Ford, their co-trainer. We're getting it from all angles. Leonard Ellerbe, it's looking like 100% he's fighting a big fight next, and it's not just a regular fighter. It's not an Isaac Cruz part 2. That is not happening, because you can't be like, oh, we just gonna seal the deal. The boxing world will be turned on its head. The boxing world will clearly not be turned on its head for a rematch of a fight with Isaac Cruz. We know that for a fact, and we know that he knows that we know that he knows that we know that, right? So it's not, that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is definitely a super fight. We're I think using the process of elimination, we could probably discern that super fight will be against Teofimo Lopez. We got a $10 super chat. Hold on, let me give you a heart real quick. $10 super chat from Mr. Nobody. Thank you so much for the interruption of your show on my review. LOL. Thanks, man. Yeah, man. No problem, bro. No problem. You already know, man. You guys were one of the first ones in here, man. You, Adrian Dones, of course, Hashim 47, ASAP TV, with Anthony Murchison. You guys have been here since the beginning, so I definitely always appreciate you guys when y'all come in here. So you already know. Even inside the square circle with Zab Judy, even though sometimes we disagree, him too. Let me see what he said now. Tank probably fighting another flat-footed punching bag. Will be surprised if it's Tio. But who else would you think that? Who do you think he's going to fight? If you're saying you'll be surprised that it's Tio inside the square circle with King Judah, if you think that it is not going to be Tio, who else do you think is going to be that super fight that will have the world turned on its head, that the world will be talking about? Because this is coming from Calvin Ford. Leonard Ellerbe also stated this, that the next fight is somebody that people are pointing towards him to fight. Who do you think it's going to be if it isn't Teofimo Lopez? Who do you think he's going to fight? Because I can't imagine anybody other than Tio, Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, Lomachenko being that fight. I can't imagine it being that fight. And a lot of people were saying Keith Thurman, but it ain't going to be Keith Thurman, because we just got the tweet from Stephen Espinoza saying that it ain't Keith Thurman. Stop saying that. Not everything that it won't. Like, this is his exact quote. Let me tell you what his exact quote was, so you guys understand that it ain't happening. He said, y'all need to stop with this is Stephen Espinoza, by the way. Y'all need to stop with the Tank versus Thurman stuff. It's not happening. Stop believing everything you read on social media. Not all sources are the same. So it's clearly not going to happen. It's clearly not going to be the Keith Thurman fight that a lot of people were speculating. For some reason, a lot of people were speculating that was going to be the fight. It ain't that. So if it ain't Keith Thurman, we've eliminated that rumor. If it's not Keith Thurman, it got to be one of those guys. Devin Haney got a fight coming up with Regis Prograis. Shakur Stevenson got a fight coming up with De Los Santos. Lomachenko is free, but he's somewhat retired. He's already said no to Shakur. More than likely could be saying no to Tank. Teofimo has no fight lined up, and they've asked to fight Teofimo before in the past. Verbally, it's come out of Floyd Mayweather's mouth in press conferences that he wanted to fight Teofimo Lopez. This is obviously before his Josh Taylor win, but maybe nothing has changed. That Josh Taylor win just makes the fight more lucrative for them. I see that fight happening. I definitely see that fight happening. If Tank beats Tio, then Devin and both by KO. If Tank beats Tio, then Devin both by KO. He will be the biggest star in the sport. That would be a huge, that would be huge, and he would be huge pay-per-view more than he is already. Yeah. Of course. There is a path towards victory for Tank. There is a path towards victory where he can become, without any debate, because right now it's debatable between him and Canelo. I personally, right, but this is subjective, this is my opinion, this is my prediction or my understanding of where the wind is blowing. I personally think Tank is more the face of boxing now than Canelo is at this time. I know a lot of people want to pull stuff from the past and say, oh, but look at Canelo makes all this money. Yeah, he made all that money in the past. But his last fight with John Ryder, he only did 250,000 pay-per-view buys. That's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. So what are we talking about? 1.2 million, 250,000. Canelo needs to show up and show out against Jermell. If he doesn't do that good against Jermell, then we're looking at another Canelo flop. Anything that's not a million, with Tank making $1 million against Ryan Garcia, is going to be a flop for Canelo. And that's not a good thing. I suspect that Tank is now the face of boxing. I suspect that he's the face of boxing. But we're going to have to wait and see. We're going to have to wait and see. And I think that they want to maintain that status. And the only way to do that is to fight a dance partner. I can't wait to see Shakur fight this November. Okay, November. That's the date. Good. Thank you. I was drawing a blank of when he was fighting. I was thinking October for some reason. How do you see Tank versus Tio playing out? That one will be very interesting. I do think that Tank could win, but Tio has proven himself. Right? Tio beat Lomachenko for real. To me, Devin Haney and Lomachenko was a close fight that could have gone either way. Tio versus Loma was a close fight that couldn't have gone either way. Tio clearly won because Tio has a habit of going out there and ensuring that he takes the final round. He did that with Lomachenko, and I believe that he won the majority of the beginning of the fight, right? All the way up until the 7th round. Then all the other rounds, you could kind of debate maybe a little bit here and there that they kind of went to Lomachenko, considering that Lomachenko looked like vintage Lomachenko from like round 8 to like 10 or whatever. But I do believe that 12th round, he secured it and he won the fight. So in my opinion, Tio had a close fight that he clearly won. I don't know if this is confusing to people, but he had a close fight that he clearly won. And Devin Haney had a close fight that could have gone either way. So they're different. They're close to each other, but they're different. So I think that Tio, he's proven himself a little bit more. He beat Josh Taylor. Tio fights for the world titles. He doesn't fight for the regular title like Tank has. But Tank is very unique because he passes the eye test. We just got to see him in there with tougher guys, right? Ryan Garcia is not that tougher guy. He was a famous guy. He was a guy that was winning his fights, and he was a guy that was in there to win the fight, but he's not a world title contender, world title holder, world title winner, like fighter. He's not that. And Teofimo is that. So we would have to see Tank fight Teofimo for the first time in a scenario where he's actually going for the major world title at 135. So this is actually a big deal. It's going to be hard. I'm going to have to really break everything down and look at it. I'm going to at least wait until they announce this fight before I start analyzing and looking at all the stuff and breaking everything down to try to determine who would win. But it will definitely be a tough fight for both Tank and Tio. Right now, I give Tio the edge, but it's probably going to change when I look at everything. But I'm giving Tio the edge based off of the experience that he has, because he might be younger, but he's definitely been fighting the more experienced guys, definitely fighting the more difficult fights than Tank has. But Tank has a lot of skills, man. He's outboxing all these guys and knocking them out because he's so skillful. What happens when you put him against somebody who's a world title holder? Can he still do that to them? That's what we need to find out. It looks like he has the skills to do that, but we're going to have to wait and see. Appreciate the quick rundown. Always late out of work to your live streams. No problem, brother. No problem. And remember, you could always rewatch the live streams. Because a lot of people do. Exciting news. Hope it's some real-ish. Tio would be great. I'd be buying that for pay-per-view 100%. Tank is fighting Frank Martin. I don't think he's fighting Frank Martin. That would not be a super big fight. That would not be a super mega fight. It will be an okay fight. It won't be a fight like Calvin Ford is saying that the world will be turned on his head. It'll be an okay fight. I think Canelo is still the face of boxing over Shakur. Over Shakur, yes, but I'm talking about Tank. But that is definitely changing as Canelo's career is winding down. But also, I think people want the Benavidez fight. I do want the Benavidez fight. Don't get me wrong. But I think that Showtime thinks that the Crawford versus Canelo fight, and if you think about it, the Crawford versus Canelo fight has now elevated itself to being more exciting for both casual and diehard fans than the Benavidez versus Canelo fight. Because of what he did to Errol Spence, they want to see him put They want to see him up against something crazy. And then it's also like Canelo's, like it is someone's like, well, Crawford's OS got to go, or Canelo is going to lose to somebody that's not bigger than him or Floyd Mayweather Jr. So it's a big deal in that respect. I think that it pushes, not that it pushes it away completely, but it just pushes it forward maybe one fight so that they could cash in on this Crawford buzz after the fight with Errol Spence. I think that that's a real possibility with Showtime, especially where Showtime is right now with the whole Paramount Plus absorbing Showtime and their thoughts of maybe cutting off Showtime boxing. They need something to tell them, okay, this thing makes money. And they're going to have to hit big fights after big fights after big fights. That's one of the reasons I think Tank is going to be fighting these guys for the first time, because we're now transitioning into, we got to start making a lot of money, and Tank is somebody that could pull that off. And I think a Canelo versus Crawford fight, Crawford making $750,000 with Errol Spence and not Canelo. That's big, because Errol Spence was only making about 200-something thousand, I think 100-something thousand in his fight with Ugas. Pay-per-view buys. So Spence versus Crawford doing 750,000 is huge. That means that Crawford carries a lot of numbers, pay-per-view buys. And he became even more popular after the fight because of the way he performed. You put that up against the Canelo, that's fireworks. That's fireworks. And I think we could cross over the 1 million pay-per-view mark with that fight. So I think that because they know that, they're probably like, all right, we're going to do the Benavidez thing after we do this, just so that we can ensure that we can get this super fight going. Our lack of buzz for Canelo Jermell is anecdotal, but it carries weight because me, you, and Game Over are getting the same feedback. Exactly. I know that I said that, but I'm delayed a little bit with what you said. But yes, I agree 100%. The reason for the lack of buzz is because they missed the key date that would have made it big. They missed the Mexican Independence Day. And that day, people get drunk and party up. Well, hopefully, I don't know, man. Let's see what happens. I'm hoping that it still does good. I'd only be surprised if it was Loma. I don't think Loma's about that risk. Honestly, I'm not sure what's up with Loma. Would love to see him fight again. Yeah, it looks like he's semi-retired, but we got to see. He might just be semi-retired for Shakur, but not semi-retired for Tank, right? Tank brings a lot of money too. Tank is somebody that even if you know you're going to lose, you're going to say yes. He's high risk, but he's also high reward. So people say yes to a Tank. They'll say no to Shakur, who's high risk and low reward. Thurman, he got Clarissa problems. Is that fight even being made still? Did they cancel that fight? I'm not hearing no talks about Clarissa Shields versus Keith Thurman anymore. Which is a lose for Thurman, and a win for Clarissa Shields, no matter how much you cut it, slice it, dice it. My bad, I meant Tank, not Shakur. For the statement that you said about Canelo being the face. Yeah, I suspect that, although if you want to go just on the evidence, Canelo is the face, sure, but I suspect that now the pendulum has swung over to Tank, and I think Tank is the face of boxing. Anyways, we have hit the mark. We're about 2 minutes after 8 o'clock, but every Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 7 p.m. to Eastern Time to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we go live to talk boxing. All of the biggest news, we talk about it here on Boxing Fanatico Live. All the episodes. We're on episode 61. We're going strong, shooting for episode 100. Let's keep going as long as we can. But remember, guys, hit that like because it helps 100%, and people come and watch these videos after the fact. But as always, we'll be live again on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell and all notifications so you know exactly when we go live, and you can jump in and we can start having that conversation. We even have debates here as well. People come in with their, what they think is going on or what they believe is happening, and we have debates here, and it's all good. I welcome all of the debates. But one cool thing that we learned from today is that I think that it is very clear. Remember when we were putting the pieces of the breadcrumbs together before all of this stuff started happening? Remember, we was doing it here first on Boxing Fanatico. We were talking about Tank's next fight being huge, a potential fight with Shakur in 2024, because now they're moving towards that strategy of fighting the big head honchos, right? And that's where it looks like it is going. And with the process of elimination, I think we could probably safely predict that a Teofimo Lopez versus Tank Davis fight is next. I could be wrong, but I'm using my process of elimination for Tank's next return. Anyways, until the next one, guys. Love it. Let me give y'all Michael Buffer before I go.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Woo! And we'll see you on Wednesday.